Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all of you. Welcome to the IEEE Region 10 webinar series IEEE R10 Talk today. Today's talk is titled Towards the IEEE Fellow Grade by Dr. Dawn Tan. I am KVS Hari, Professor at the Department of ECE, Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore. I've been a past VP membership of the IEEE Signal Processing Society and currently a member of the IEEE Fellow Committee. I'm the moderator of this session and would like to share a few session guidelines. All attendees are requested to post their queries in the chat box. They will be addressed by the speaker after the presentation during the Q&A session. Now it is my pleasant duty to introduce Professor Lance Fung, the current IEEE Asia Pacific R10 Director for 2023-24. Professor Fung has been a dedicated IEEE volunteer for over 25 years, served in various executive positions in the IEEE Western Australia Section, Australia Council, Region 10 Executive Committee, as well as a member at large for 6 years in the IEEE Systems Man and Cybernetics Society. He has lectured in the Singapore Polytechnic, Curtin University, and Murdoch University since early 1980s. He has published over 350 articles in the areas of artificial intelligence, computational intelligence, and their applications to various practical problems. His profile and research outputs can be viewed from LinkedIn, ResearchGate, Google Scholar, as well as Murdoch University Research Repository. Welcome, Professor Fung, and may I invite you to kindly share your opening remarks.
Thank you so much, Professor Harry. And truly, it is my honor and pleasure being here today to welcome Dr. Tan and also all the attendees for these sessions. Well, the fellow grade, is the more or less a pinnacle, of the membership grade within IEEE. And it is a very well attended session in a lot of the past conferences I've attended. Whenever we talk about fellow, is always very well attended. So I think it's really appropriate for us to invite the chair of the fellow committee to give us a talk on this. But before that, one of the issues we're facing, in Region 10 is some of the unrepresented sections are having a small number of fellows. But by comparison, say for example, if we take a look in Australia, we have 135 fellows. It comprises of 1.754% of our senior members. And then, in China, we have 330, but 0.85%. In India, you've got 83 only, although you do have around, 27,000 of high-grade members, and that only comprises of 0.21%. And then, in Japan, you have 452 fellows. All these figures are at the end of September, comprise of 2.24% of the senior members. And then, even in New Zealand, they have 11, but they comprise of 1.28%. We do have some other smaller sections that have a very high number of fellows. Say, for example, in Hong Kong, there are 133 fellows who are comprised of 4.51% of the senior members. But by contrast, we have some other sections, like in Pakistan, we have no fellows at all, although you have around 1,181 high-grade members. And then, in others, like the Malaysia section, we have only got one fellow. Again, you have over 2,300 senior grade and high grade members. In Singapore, 77 fellows, 3.22%. In Sri Lanka, only 2. And in Philippines, the 1. In Taiwan, has Taipei and the Thailand section, 147 fellows. In Thailand, only 1 fellows. And in Malaysia, 1. Indonesia, 0. So all these we can see that there are good opportunities for those senior members in those sections they should consider. So, but the first thing we need to get to know about the program. So this is most timely and most appropriate, and thank you very much for Dr. Tan. And now I welcome you, and I pass it back to Harry to introduce our speaker. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Lance. Now it is my pleasant duty to introduce the speaker, Dr. Dawn Tan. Dr. Tan is at NGSS, Northrop Grumman Aerospace Systems, where he served as Distinguished Engineer, Fellow, Chief Engineer Power Conversion, Program Manager, Department Manager, and Center Director. Dawn earned his PhD from Caltech and is an IEEE Fellow. Well recognized as a visionary leader in ultra-efficient power conversion and electronic energy systems, he has pioneered breakthrough innovations with high-impact industry firsts and record performances that significantly enhance our national security. Recent launch of JWST Space Telescope represents human's most powerful telescope for historical mission. His suite of the world-class electronics performed flawlessly for JWST on orbit 1 million miles away with record-breaking performances. Dawn has delivered more than 70 keynotes or invited global presentations. He is, among others, the chair of the IEEE Fellow Committee, the IEEE Board of Directors and immediate past steering committee chair, IEEE PELS PES E-Grid. He was director, IEEE Board of Directors, PELS Long Range Planning Committee chair, nomination committee chair, PLS President, Editor-in-Chief, the founding Editor-in-Chief for IEEE Journal of Emerging and Selected Topics in Power Electronics, General Conference Chair for APEC, Vice President Operations, Guest Editor-in-Chief for IEEE Transactions on Power Electronics and IEEE Transactions on Industry Applications, Vice President Meetings, IEEE Chair for IEEE Google Little Box Challenge, which awarded a $1 million cash prize, and IEEE DoD Working Group Chair, developed the IEEE ANSI standards 1515 and 1573. He also serves on many national and international award, review, and selection committees. So as you see, we have the privilege of hosting a very distinguished person in the technology community as well as in IEEE. So over to you, Dawn. May I invite you to please share your thoughts on this talk.
Thank you very much, Harry, and good morning, everybody. So it is my great pleasure and privilege to have this opportunity to share my thoughts on the IEEE Fellow nomination process. As Lance actually mentioned that, we have in Region 10, we have quite a few areas that we have a very limited number of IEEE fellows. So these are the area that we would like to get more nominations. So hopefully then go through the process, we can get more fellows to to be elevated. So so today's talk. So I will currently I'm serving as the IEEE Fellow Committee Chair. So I'd like to just share my thoughts on this particular issue. So hopefully it will provide some insight and also some clarification and some help for you to better familiarize yourself with the IEEE Fellow program, and hopefully you can also better judge yourself, or you have about yourself qualification. So I did a similar talk at a section Congress, like Lance was just mentioned it a while ago. Yeah, was well attended. So today's, I just heard that hundreds of people registered. So hope have a good turnout for this. So I have organized my talk into these 10 sections. So I will go through them one by one. So Harry already introduced them myself, so I don't have to repeat. So let's get down to it. So first of all, the IEEE Fellow Group is a grade. So as defined within the IEEE Constitution and bylaw, as the second highest grade, the first highest is an honorary member of IEEE, which usually is reserved for really distinguished individuals, and they come very few and far in between. So practically, the fellow grade it is practically the highest grade for IEEE membership. So the grade definition qualification is defined actually in the IEEE bylaw. The second highest the governing document. The first one is the Constitution. The second one is the bylaw. Determines basically says for a significant impact to the society. Here I just add a few words. This is society at large, not a particularly a particular technical society. It's basically society at large. And then currently the bylaw defines the minimum qualification is a 5-year period of 5 years in any grade. So that's the this one particular area highlighted. We currently have some discussion. There's some confusion on what's the minimum qualification. And typically, I would say just 10-year professional life. Beyond your, if you're a PhD, typically beyond your PhD, there's typically 10-year life. We are in the process trying to work that into the documents, but that will take some time to work this through. And then if you compare that to the senior membership, for a senior membership, then here there's clearly requires 10-year professional life. But however, based on my understanding, the graduate studies can be counted as into the 10 years. So you can see then what we typically think we should add 5 more years independent to independent professional life. In other words, if we would from high school to undergrad to grad and then to PhD and then graduate become a professor, then it's 10 years after your PhD. Then it becomes an independent researcher. It will be good guideline as far as the minimum. Of course, everybody has a different more complications. Some people don't do PhD, but then you can count your career earlier. Say if you just do master, or even you never do any graduate studies, you do a bachelor's, then you start to work. That can count from your bachelor stage. But typically, it's from your PhD day. So a little bit of history on the IEEE Fellow Program. It's actually the IEEE started award first fellow in 1912, and the IRE actually established the fellow program in 1914, more than 100 years ago. As you know, IEEE and IRE, these are the two predecessors for IEEE. So the IEEE make it in 1938, and make them has to be from 5 members of fellows. They elevated the elevation, and the IRE in 1939 made them by appointment by the board of directors only. Okay, and the IRE then started citation in 1942, and then IE then started citation in 51. They started published the fellow names. So then, all these elements basically has been inherited when the IEEE and IRE is being combined into form IEEE, and then all the best practices from all the two predecessors in basically is inherited and continued today. So today, as we all know, that like Lance mentioned, also the IEEE Fellow are prestigious and is highly sought after across the globe. It's not just in a particular world, it's across the globe. So then you can see that the IEEE, if you look at the all the assets that the IEEE has, the Fellow program is one of the crown jewels. So that's actually, world is highly respected. So. So today, there are a total of 8,103 IEEE fellows as of 2023. And so most of us know that each year, a maximum of 0.1% of a total number of voting members are elevated to the fellow grades. That's maximum limit. For the year of this year, so then the data count is December 2022, we have 327,797 members, high grade members. So this year, the maximum pool of the fellow elevation for this year will be 327, because by 0.1%. So that's a typical number. So we just completed our, Harry was there with us. We completed our recommendation to the board of directors. So we're getting very close to this maximum number. And then we're waiting for the board to review and then to approve. Then we can publish the roster for those who are going to be elevated for class of 2024. So the board meeting is actually in a little bit, I think a week and a half. So basically a week after next. So these are some statistics over the years, the 20 years. You can see typical, this statistic is actually published on the fellow website. If you are interested, you can go there, download them yourself. Here, I'm just walking you through some typical numbers. So you can see in the past years, if you look at here, towards the end here, typically the nomination numbers is about, about 1,000, a little bit under 1,000. So we usually use the round number. The nomination is about 1,000. The elevation is typically about 300 something. So that roughly the success rate for nomination is 3 to 1. So actually that's pretty good ratio, 3 to 1. So that's what I'd like to, for first message here, I would like to communicate that to you. That's overall. Then we also publish the category distributions, say researchers, that you can see they distributed over the years, then from 300 something doubled to 600 something. But the success rate, recently has been around 1/3. And from people from industry, the numbers actually shrinking. You can see now last year is 172, but the success rate is roughly about 1/3 too. That you can see that's one of the problems we're trying to address. That people from industry is kind of declining, while the from academics, increasing. So that create the perception of the IEEE Fellow is an academic thing. So it's actually not. It's for all members. So we're trying to improve on that front. So the recent improvement the board of directors approved last year is basically targeting these areas. Then we can also see for the government, they still have similar statistics. So I'm not going to go through one by one. So then we also published the regional contributions that you can see here. From region 1 to 6, even 7, they have a fair amount of share. But some of the regions, typically region 9, unfortunately, past the cycle, they had zero elevation. So that's another aspect of the improvements we're trying to address. Like Lance was mentioned, that for the underrepresented areas, we're trying to help, get the words out, and help people to recognize their talent among themselves, and put forward more nominations. Then hopefully we can get more people elevated. But I'm glad to report that when for this year's number, we will have numbers here. It's not going to be zero. So we made some improvements. So hopefully in a couple of weeks, we will be able to share that number with you. For gender distribution, you can see here, also the success rate is about 1/3, but the overall the pool of women in the relatively small. That maybe is a reflection of the members, females are relatively small, but still we can continue improving this area also. That's one of the areas we're trying to improve, get more female members recognized. And then we also publish it for each society. So we publish the stats, and then the councils. In the recent years, the council can evaluate fellows also. So it's a society and the council they evaluate. So for the sake of time, I'm not going to go through one by one, but you can see some of them big, some of them small society councils, they can have zeros too. You can see because, and there's continue on. There's for all the 49 society and councils, they're all listening here. So like I said before, so these stats are available online. You can go to web. I will show you a screenshot. You can see where to find them. You can go see them. Now then brings us to this question. I got to ask also that how do you exactly judge yourself? am I qualified to be considered for a fellow? How do we do that? But yeah, the reason many people are asking this question is simply because there's no cut and dry rules. Say, hey, it's not like you have formula, just go look at them. So that's kind of ad hoc and individual cases. So here I'm trying to share my thought. I propose typically you should have a few worthy achievements in the 5 categories now: research scientist, technology innovator, educator, technical leader, and the standards contributors. Then you can see typically you should have 10 or 15 years of independent professional life. By independent, which means that not with your supervisor, the years you spend with your supervisor. For senior members, that may count, but for fellow, that doesn't count because this is a recognition for your own capability, and they should be independent professionals, 10 or 15 years. And then also, many of you probably heard of, even though we know it's a fellow is a grade, but for a lot of people, they've been treated as like maybe the pinnacle you can achieve, like Lance mentioned, use that word for your professional life, right? Even though IEEE has many awards, but they are very few compared to the large populating 300, more than 300, or even almost 400,000 members. Yeah, so not many people can get awards. So, but this is a lot of larger pool of people. So from that point of view, you can sometimes consider it's like achievement award. But in reality, it is not. So we need to bear in mind that. Here I'm give you something to land your feet on. So I developed this Downs 10% rule. So here's how it goes. So ask yourself, if you have 1 or 2 or even 3 technical contributions in your particular technical field, that can be roughly ranked in the top 10%. So that's how you think about it. And then that's one part of it. But then you would ask me, how do you come up with a 10% down? So here's how I come up with 10%. So you can see 0.1% a year, a typical professional life, let's just say 30 years. And then you time that, you get about 3%. I just mentioned that to you. The typical selection success rate is 3 to 1. So you multiply it by 3, you get 9. So then use 10%, that's a round number. So that's how the 10% is developed. So you can see, I think this probably will more concrete. Hopefully it can help you to land your feet on specifically on how you're judging them. And then basically it's in your particular field of contribution. Then it doesn't have, say power electronics, you have a converter, circuit topology, you have control, you have modeling, you have magnetics, all kinds of stuff. And you just have to be one particular technical field. You're successful. You think it can be considered. All your colleagues agree, yeah, that can be on the top. Then you may have a chance. So all you need is to have 2 to 3 contributions in the top 10%. This is my punchline. So I hope that can get you the second point I want to drive through as top 10. That it is important to recognize it's not a 0.1%, right? And 0.1% is the maximum number of persons can be elevated. But you are, in practice is the contribution top 10%. So you can say that's 100 times bigger pool. So hopefully that can encourage you to think more positively on your contribution. So. Another thing to help you to judge yourself is for you to read the sample profiles, because we publish the manuals that currently is being updated because of the significantly revision of the process. But even the older version, some generic stuff is, is still valuable. But we are in the process of update them to reflect the new process. But you don't have to wait until we publish the update, because it has to be edited, has to be proofread, and every word has to be carefully thought after, debated, because it influence thousands of people. So it takes time to get the documents written right and approved by various bodies. But in this handbook, you can see we actually list the 4 categories. For each category, previously we have 4 categories. That's why in this handbook we only have 4 samples, for 1 sample for each category. So you can read them for each one of them. Then that can give you more specific feel, what it takes to qualify. So that can help you to focus your thinking, and also give you a good example how the form should be filled, give you good. So, and then we're in the process to write up the standards contribution categories. Now we have 5 categories. So we'll expand it by adding 1 to here. Then the new version will have 5 categories in samples. So these 4 samples will be retained, maybe just some wording updates. Then we'll add the 5th. So you can read this to So another really useful thing is that we recently updated the so-called the contribution characterization matrix. So what this thing you can see, you cannot read this table, so that's not my intention. I just want to give you a general feel of this table. So you can see on horizontally, you have the 5 categories, research scientists, GI leaders, and contributors. And then you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different group of criteria or specific evidences you're looking for. And then the new thing for this contribution matrix is now for each category. For instance, the first row here are the where my arrow is, that's actually second row for the research and scientist. The most important is highlighted green here is this research papers. Second is the patents. You can see publication in the products, processes, algorithm, they are whited out, and they are thirdly important, right? And then also you can see for industry people, TI, and then your your products, your processes, systems, designs is the most important thing. You can see they are highlighted green. Then you can see compared to the researchers, your papers publication is not that important. As we all know in the industry, they actually publication is discouraged. It's not encouraged. It's actually discouraged. So their contribution is by products, by systems, by algorithm, by processes, by design. So you can see we have significantly revamped this. So each category have a different emphasis. So we believe this one, this will give you one more example on this. So we have included this full PDF file here. You can open it up to see the specific content. Then we believe that this will potentially, we believe have a potentially may make us move the needle, so to speak, in the diversity side to get more nominations to come in. Then by leveling the playing field in this for the nomination process. And then let's talk about the another question I get asked: how do I get somebody to recommend me to get nominated? So what you can do is find a mentor or a sponsor. So this is by mentor. Of course, everybody knows you can have your professional mentor. Here by mentor, I meant to say it's the IEEE mentor. They tell they can be your section, your chapter, local, regional leaders, but they know how IEEE operates, and then also they know help you to navigate the maze of IEEE, so to speak. So So that's, and then also can serve as a sounding board for your thoughts. You know, if you really trust this person as a mentor, you should be able to feel free to share your thoughts with this particular person, and then he or she can provide, you know, feedback. So, oh, maybe you should consider this or that, and maybe even modulate your message. So that can be very valuable suggestion, can be valuable to you. Of course, if you can go even one step further to find a sponsor basically is gonna promote you in front of other folks. You know, this person will say, "Oh, who is really good." So I worked with him or her before, really good, and I did this and that kind of work. So that's a sponsor that basically directly promotes you, recognize you. So the one thing I'd like to emphasize is that this relationship, mentor or sponsor, cannot be forced. Has to be naturally developed amongst by you and the person you feel comfortable with, because you share personal thoughts. Sometimes, you know, just a thought, right? It's not a well thought of. It's just one thought. So then you want somebody to help you to be the sounding board. Then these two roles can be very helpful. Yeah. So here I want to emphasize that, you know, before I recently added this bullet. You can see since the fellow nominations are evaluated first by the Society and Council Fellow Evaluation Committee, and then and then by the Fellow Committee at the IEEE level. So you can see you have to be evaluated by the Society Council. So will certainly help you for you to join a society, a council, at least minimum. You can actually join multiple of them too if you feel like you're broad enough knowledge base. You should. I would say highly encourage you to become a member of a particular society or council, or even one or two of them. And then up to even more, you can volunteer for the society council on the section, so that people know you, and then you get to know people, people get to know you, and then you know which society fits you best. Okay, now let's talk about the nomination, the importance of a nomination package. The nomination form is an essential document for the entire fellow evaluation and the selection process. Since this is the only venue that a nominator, for a nominator to make a case for his or her nominee to various different evaluation committees, because the form is actually used by 3 committees, society council committees. Then there's a CFAC for if you belong to a small society or council. For the new process, it's one more step for you to be ranked together in the CFAC, and then will be evaluated by the Fellow Evaluation Committee. And then on top of these, there's 2 steps. Then your your reference writers, your endorsers read your form too, because that's how. I mean, some of them may know you very well, but many of them may not necessarily know you too well, right? So they have to read the form. So the forms is the most important thing. So that you should. And then the second thing we like to emphasize that is that when you write this form, write the verbiage, you should write in a plain language to avoid really specific technical jargon. So so much so then it should not be written for experts, because that's a natural tendency. Just use the acronyms because you use them all the time, and everybody in your field knows what that acronym stands for. But they are read by a large group of people. They do not necessarily understand your acronyms and also the subtleties of technical. So you should write your nomination form in plain language, and then anybody within IEEE with some technical maturity will be able to understand your contribution, what your contributions are. So that's another very important aspect. So here I have a small note. Basically, what a CFAC is. CFAC is basically composed of a small society and councils, where you have a very small nomination pool. So To give you some numbers, for some society and small society councils, you typically have 2 or 3, sometimes even 0 nominations. Yet, whereas for a big society like a ComSoc, or for instance, or computer society, they have hundreds of nominations every year. Then you can see how to statistically, how do we treat each society council equally, but then how do we combine them together? So the way in the past is done by the fellow committee, still is, but the new process, we ask you to, the small societies come together to rank them, then to combine them into a group of around 30, 15, 30 people. So then you have a much bigger pool. So then statistically, this is more easier for us to handle. So that's basically CFAC it is. It's not a one more step of evaluation. They do not do evaluation per se. Okay. So the well-written nomination form should include the 3 fundamental aspects, and then the individual contributions, the impact of these contributions, and then evidence. Yeah, then that's the 3 aspects. Then you also notice that overly superlatives, you should avoid using those too many adjectives, because that can turn people off fast. You should just use a simple language. Don't use too many adjectives on top of adjectives. You pile them up. It's not going to help you. So use a simple language, precise and succinct. Yeah, so people can quickly understand what you're trying to articulate. And then the references and the endorsements is another really important part of the nomination package. So I will emphasize the different roles the reference and the endorsement plays. Many people don't appreciate the difference, and that they don't really leverage them. So the reference for each nomination, you can have up to 5 references written by IEEE fellows. So the focus of this reference is basically judging your qualification to be a fellow. So there has to be written by a IEEE fellow, because they can judge you whether you're a fellow or not. So that's basically the main purpose. Another purpose is that they basically independently verify and your contribution. So from that point of view, we as a first principle, you would actually avoid to use somebody within your organization to write references, to avoid any potential perceived conflict of interest. So you better off just have people outside your department, even outside your school, to write those references for you. And then that's basically carry the most of the weight, because they're just independent. They don't have, because some people ask the department chair to write references. Sure, they will write a very good reference, because the department chair starts to gain, right? So that's a potential conflict of interest. So that's one important thing for you to bear in mind. So another thing is that the endorsement letters. So you can have up to 3 endorsement letters. The endorsement letters plays yet another important role. The reason the endorsement letters is this set of documents is there for a purpose. It's basically for the endorsers, they do not have to be even IEEE member. Right? Not to mention senior member or even an IEEE fellow. Can be anybody in your professional life. Here's the reason to that. There's a couple of reasons, 3 specific reasons for you to use where you have to use an endorsement letter. First one is that the first one is that when you working for a company, when you first have something invented, the company may not necessarily willing for you to publish. So then maybe a few years later, and then the things is not as sensitive, and then you can ask your boss's boss within your company or your institution to write, to collaborate what you said is true. So remember, this is one area you can be your own boss. Okay. The second one is that if you do classified work, I mean, you know that cannot be, for your government, right? IEEE is international organization, whatever government you're working for, they cannot be published by definition. So, but however, you can ask somebody, maybe your customer manager, a program director, ask them to write a non-classified version and to say, to collaborate your contribution in that area. I'm pretty sure that the best person for them is your customer to write, because they know, what the classifications are, how to, use the correct words. So that's the second scenario where, somebody knows you well, can help you. The third one is that if you do an educator, right? So typical example is that I develop a course, write a textbook, or I conceived a set of experiments in the lab or lab session. And then the textbook is used by more than, say, 100 schools as a best textbook for that particular topic. Or your lab, sessions have been used by 20 or 30, 40 schools because they're so well, people like them. So this is a situation you can ask your dean or your department manager at department chair to write, because they know because only they know, your textbook is, is doing well, or your lab sessions that, it's been. So this is where your bosses can help you. So you can see a lot of people don't even bother with endorsement. Then hopefully today you understand they forego a very important revenue for them to impress the committee. So I hope I emphasize enough. So the endorsement letter is basically for you to actually to articulate a particular aspects, right? Proprietary information, classified information, or educational materials. So these basically endorsements can be really very helpful. So then you can see 5 plus 3 is 8 documents. And then some people ask me, Don, what do you think? Should I fill? Do I have to have all 3 or 5? And then my suggestion is yes, if you can fill them up. Even though for the reference the requirement is 3, for endorsements the requirement is 0. You don't have to submit an endorsement. I highly recommend you to write 5 references and 5 endorsements. So that can help you. Oh, 3 endorsements. Sorry, I misspoke. So these are the specific things that, I hope, this can help you to really think through, your qualification and how you go work with your nominator to prepare the material. And then we also have the referencing here. If you go on the website, you can see them. I want to emphasize one more time. Even though this material, because the newly improved process, some of the materials names that they are inconsistent, dates are not lined up, but the gist of it, the basic things is still there. How to write a good reference, they're not going to change. So, okay, so you can see, so this. Then the question, how do you find the reference writers? Okay, and then there's a IEEE Fellow directory online. If you go to the Fellow website, you can search the website, by region, by name, by society. So it's open. Ask your chapter, society, or adjacent society to help. So here, one of the recent improvements coming next year, each society council, they should have a fellow nomination process, subcommittee to help nominate fellow. That's what the board of directors approved. So each society should have a fellow nominations committee. But if you use a small society, you can use a nomination committee to do that same job. That's fine. But if you're a big society, you probably need to establish a separate group because they just have so much to do. All right. So that's what I just mentioned. So this is one question. This is a common question I get too. So how do I find the reference writer? Okay, so I mentioned that as you can see that the industry is declining. One of the things that the board of directors want to address the issue. And then there's a industry engagement committee. That's actually at the board level. We are actively working on it. I've been involved with that committee as vice chair last year. So that's, we'll continue that job. To work with the industry recognition. One of the contributions that we made the difference is make the standards contribution as one of the categories. So that's being implemented. So I mentioned that there's if you go down to Fellow online website, that's where you land on IEEE Fellows, that's what you see. And each one of those 5 tiles, you click them, they will take you to different places. You can see all kinds of information, all right, including the evaluators, society evaluators, IEEE judges, governing documents. Then you can get in here, you can see the statistics, they're all in here. And the governing documents for the committee at the board level, committee guides and the handbooks, they're all in here. So we are in the process of updating them. They're all the information online. So you can see recently we started updating the documents. You can see here, this is the updated. Then we highlighted them as updated new version of it. And then also same is here. We have updated the ops menu, and then we have updated the qualification matrix is then also updated there. So we are in the process. I hope by the deadlines, the new system will be open. Hope the first week of November. Currently is shut down because we're doing some maintenance and updates because of the new system. For the new year, we have a little bit updates. Then we have to shut down the system to do the maintenance and then do the updates, and then we'll be open. And then at the same time, we are working very furiously, trying to update this, provide a updated documents for you. And another place I want to point you to is go to the Standards Association, and then they actually have a fellow committee. They call it IEEE Fellow Committee, Felcom. They actually have a guideline on how to write the standards contribution nomination. It's pretty good nomination. Last year and this year, we actually see people in that category has been elevated. So things are starting to move. So that I encourage you to consider this. So that's basically is my talk. So I will be Harry. I will be open for any questions or comments or discussion.
Thank you very much, Don. We do have a few questions. So let me start with, they're in the chat box, but I will read them out. The first question is that I think the query is that if you have more than 3 technical contributions, maybe they want to know if they should list all of them or only pick 2 or 3 as you suggested.
I think if you within the word limit, you can fit them in. You should fit them in. Yeah. But actually, it's the word limit. You have to be able to. So that's up to you. If you can write such a way you can fit them all there. Yeah, you do want to put them there. Yeah. But there's a word limit, then you can't do all of them. So then you have to pick. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. The next question I will read out. It was suggested that a reference should not be written by the nominee's boss to avoid conflict of interest.
Right.
How about the nominator? Can the nominator be the nominee's boss?
Oh, that can be, yes. Nominator can be, but he or she has to be a fellow.
Right.
Yeah, that's fine because the nominator, yeah, it can be a nominator. Yeah.
Okay. The next question is, can the endorsement letters be issued by the references as well?
By the reference, no, you should not use the same individual to do twice. No, you're defeating the purpose.
Okay. Very
Am I understanding correctly? Right? Somebody write a reference and then also write endorsements? No, that does not serve the purpose. Yeah. We want the people, more people give us input, right? And independent material, give us their assessment of this particular individual. Yeah. So that does
Okay.
not make sense for you to write a reference and also write an endorsement.
Yeah. Okay. The next question is, what is the difference between a society's fellow evaluation committee and a society's fellow nomination committee?
Oh, nominations basically go out to encourage people to write nominations for people to put them in. Evaluation committee is once you submit your nomination package, they evaluate your qualification. Basically,
Right.
the nomination committees go out, get the people, say, hey, Harry, I think you are qualified. Go submit it. And Don, yeah, you are qualified. Actually, I was actually talked to by multiple people from my society, and I was a little bit because I wasn't thinking about it. So I, I put aside, I didn't pay attention. And 2, 3 years later, then more people talking to me. Say, oh, go submit your stuff. Yeah, then I submitted in 2007. Then I got it within a year. So the nomination basically encourage people to think and write about themselves to put the nomination together. Yeah, that's what the nomination committee is. Yeah.
Right. The next question is the recommendation from an IEEE fellow mandatory for nomination or for reference letter?
For reference letters.
Right.
But usually the nominator, usually you have to be a fellow because you judging somebody is qualified to be fellow, then usually you need actually to be fellow to be nominated too. Because then you are telling us that this person is qualified to be a fellow, and then if you are not a fellow, how I mean that cuts into your credibility. So you should have a fellow nominate you too. But yeah.
Okay. The next question is being an editor-in-chief of a major journal, which is not necessarily an IEEE journal, considered an important evidence?
It depends on individual cases. If it stands alone, does not account as a technical standalone contribution, but it can be counted as professional activities. Yeah. Yeah, it counts, but not as much as a technical contribution.
Yeah. Thank you. The next question is, what would be the best career stage for application? And can you discuss more about eligibility?
What do you mean by career? Oh, career. Okay.
Career
So
stage.
yeah, that's career stage. I would say if you in a university, then you should have typically made it to a full professor. Well, I understand some of the schools make it is particularly difficult to become a full professor. Yeah, especially the high school, the highly prestigious schools. But generally speaking, there you should be a full professor, and then if you're industry, you should be a senior staff engineer. This title is getting old, but you know the meaning. Yeah, you should be a senior staff engineer. You become a valuable asset of your organization. They will stick with you. That's basically you made it within your own organization. Yeah, and typically it should be 10 years after your PhD minimum. Yeah, what I said, minimum qualification. Yeah.
Okay. So the next question is, in case a nomination doesn't make it in a particular year, is there a cool-off period after that during which a renomination cannot be considered?
There's no cooling off period. You can submit as many times as you want. But my personal advice to you is that if you do not have anything significantly improved, or then you probably don't. If you tried a couple of times already, probably makes sense for you to take a break and then build yourself up and then submit again. Again, this is not an award. right? This is a grade. So from that point of view, we debated this particular issue multiple times. We should not bar anybody from be nominated for a higher grade of a membership. Not like awards, as you know, some awards, if you submitted two or three times in a row, then you don't make it, they would encourage you to take a break for a number of years. Not for IEEE fellow. But I would encourage you to improve yourself, and then let me just say, don't just simply resubmit it, and you should you can try to make it, even there's no technical kind of things to add to, but you probably should improve your writing, make it more concise, that kind of stuff.
Okay. A quick another question is, I think, is there a change in the nomination deadline next year?
Oh yeah, I forgot to mention. Thank you very much. The nomination timeline has been moved ahead from March 1st, the traditional date, to February 7th. So yeah, I forgot to mention. I meant to say that. Thank you, Harry, for reminding me of that. So the deadline is February 7th. So the reason is simply because we need more time to work the stuff that the board wants us to do. I don't know, many new tasks, as Harry, you now know, we went through them. There's another new stuff we have to do. So we need more time. But however, we actually have this in mind. Once we get this thing moving, once we get more efficiency into a groove, so to speak, then if we can, we'll move them back, maybe 1 week at a time, see if we can move back to middle of February. But at this moment, it's a little bit premature. But that would be the goal for us to, once we get a smooth operation, maybe we can move it back 1 week or something. Yeah. But currently it's February 7th. But yeah.
One question is about related to age and the status. Suppose somebody has superannuated or retired from an organization. Is there any age limit for submitting a nomination?
No, there's no limit. It's basically a living member, And then there's definition we run into this case, particularly the person, when he or she is nominated, if he's still alive, we will still consider that case, even though during the process this particular person unfortunately passed away. We will still evaluate that case. So there's no age limit, no limit. Yeah.
Okay, one question related to industry. I'm combining a few questions in the interest of time. Basically, the question is about if an industry person has a product or industry achievement, but may not have research publications to show, how do we go about? And for people in industry, is there a way to develop linkages with other industry people, because in their sector they would have maybe 1 or 2 fellows for them to nominate. So what is your suggestion for industry?
Oh, I think the first question answer, I would say, like, you should leverage the endorsement letter for you, because that you can ask your boss to write it, but then your boss's boss can say, yeah, Harry's invention, enable us to build the product A, which then leads us to quadruple our annual sales, right? Or they can say he developed this power system, which is deployed in such a workstation, power station for 10 years, and then with no major issues. These are very powerful testimonials. Say this person's work is really impacting the society at large. So that's where you should use the endorsement letter for them to write it up. Yeah.
Okay, I think we are very close to the close. One last question. If somebody has retired or has contributed as an academic leader, like a dean, and maybe has received some national awards of their country, would it add value to the
Now,
nomination.
that would, yeah, if he's recognized for the particular education related, that can add value, yes. But then I would encourage you to read the contribution matrix. We actually spelled them out for technical leaders, what we are looking for. So you should read that matrix.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, I think in the interest of time, I think I have covered almost all the important queries. Just to remind the attendees that the recording of this will be available to you, so you can have a look at the recording of this session. May I now request Dr. Akinori Nishihara, past R10 director, for his closing remarks.
Yeah, thank you, Harry, and thank you very much, Don, for a very comprehensive guide for the fellow grade, and especially for us Region 10 people. It's very honor to have your explanation directly to us Region 10, and yeah, federal rules are changing, and especially for the next year, just you said, the deadline is a little earlier, so we have to be very, very careful. And probably some of the audience are already fellows, and I encourage you to encourage your local senior members to try. We have many people have chances to become IEEE fellow. Yes, when I visit some universities, they show photos of IEEE fellows saying that our department has this number of IEEE fellows. So IEEE fellow grade is very prestigious.
Right.
And I hope we have more fellows from our region. And please go to the IEEE Fellow website. They have very good documents and very updated. So please be careful not to rely on your memory, but check the document rules, current rules. So again, thank you very much, Don, for your valuable time for our members. It's already almost midnight, I guess.
Yes,
And,
almost, yeah.
So thank you
Yeah,
very
it's
much.
midnight. Yeah, 12:03, yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
thank you very much again.
no, okay, thank you. My pleasure. Yeah, I know many of you for so many years. I'm so glad I can do this. Thank you for the opportunity. Hopefully my words and the thoughts can be helpful to some of your members.
Yes, I have one last slide. I think I would request the slide where the attendees can provide feedback. I'd like to thank all the attendees for joining this session, and please use this QR code and provide us with feedback so that we can improve on this seminar series, and we'll be very happy to take your suggestions. The next webinar is the Physics and Engineering of Piano. Speaker is Dr. Clive Woods, Associate Dean of Engineering for Research and Graduate Affairs, University of South Alabama. It'll be on November 18th, GMT plus 5.5 hours. 9 o'clock IST, which is GMT plus 5.5 hours. Okay, I'd like to thank all the Region 10 entities which have helped us in organizing this talk, and also all the organizers of the IEEE R10 Talk webinar series, the committee which has helped us.
Thank you, Harry. Thank you, Lance.
We have a last one event. That's a group photograph.
Yeah.
I request all
yes,
the panelists just to switch on their cameras.
Yes,
Yes,
please yeah, send me a photo. That would be good for my archive.
Prakashji, can you just stop sharing? Ah, that's all. Hisham, you can just switch on your camera. I have taken it. I will share it in the mailbox. Thank you, everybody.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Good night. Nice to see
Good
you
night.
Good night.
all.
virtually
Thank you.
to Nancy and Aki. We probably
Thank
see
you,
you
everyone.
in
Thank you for
person.
Yeah,
your presence.
see
Thank
you.
you, everyone.
Okay.
Thanks.
All right.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Bye bye.